A toddler and a baby among those who were killed in last week's Brampton house fire. We have live coverage from the scene this hour.
And developing news from Bloor and Runnymede, where a man has been stabbed near a playground. CP24's Beatrice Vaisman will have a live update from the scene.
Renters versus landlords. The province passing Bill 60 with protesters yelling from the galley at Queen's Park. Premier Doug Ford sharing some choice words.
And can they make it 8 in a row? The Toronto Raptors hosting the Cleveland Cavaliers at Scotiabank. We have a preview of the Eastern Conference tilt.
This is Live at 5. Good evening. I'm Bakari Savage.
And I'm Phil Perkins. You're watching Live at 504. People, including a toddler, are now confirmed dead in a Brampton house fire from last week.
Let's go live to CP24. Steve Ryan, who's at the scene of last week's fire. This is near McLaughlin and Wanless Drive. Steve?
Yeah, so we are back at this very tragic scene in Brampton. Thursday morning at 2:30 was when the fire started. We learned shortly after that that 2 people had died in the fire. We'd learned that 4 had been taken to hospital and then others had been unaccounted for. Friday at 2:30 p.m., we had an update from Peel Police advising that a third person, an adult, was located inside of this burned down home, and that was 3 that had died as a result of this fire. We had an update again today by the OFM and by Peel Regional Police, and sadly we learned that a 2-year-old toddler was also a victim in this fire. So that was 4 people confirmed to have died in the fire itself. Of those 4 that were taken to hospital Thursday shortly after the fire broke out, one of those was a pregnant woman. She was 8 months pregnant. Doctors performed emergency surgery, but were unable to save the life of her unborn child. So that's 5 lives that were lost in this fire. 4 people still remain in hospital in critical condition. And the fire is, what's left of this fire scene is now being investigated by the Ontario Fire Marshal's office. We did hear from Peel Police and the OFM earlier today, and here's some of what they told us. Let's listen.
It's very difficult. This hits close to home to many people, myself included. I've been involved in a pretty significant fire myself, and so generally speaking, we're all just very, very, very sad for the family, and we're doing our best to uncover answers in hopes that whatever we learn can help prevent something like this from happening.
This event is a stark reminder of the devastation that fire can cause. To date, in Ontario, we have had a total of 92 fatal fires and the loss of 106 lives. Fire spreads fast, and that's why it's important that we remind all Ontarians about the steps they can take to remain fire safe.
So you're looking at what is left of this home. It was demolished, controlled demolition by a group brought in by the OFM so that they can search for other people that may have been lost in this fire, and they can make that area as safe as they could, as the OFM were able to get in to that area that's now just rubble and trying to analyze what transpired. Of course, the Ontario Fire Marshal's Office will now determine the cause, origin, and circumstances of the fire. And lastly, the officer was talking about the effects that this type of calls have on first responders. Oftentimes that gets overlooked, but at the end of the day, they too are just people wearing uniforms, and it certainly does have a significant impact on them as they deal with these, what can be only described as the tragedy of all tragedies, what you're looking at right now. Let's send it back to you guys. Okay. Live in Brampton, CP24, Steve Ryan. Well, we also have developing news from the West End. This is where a man's been injured in a stabbing at a park.
Let's go live to CP24's Beatrice Vaisman at the scene near Bloor and Runnymede. Beatrice, what do we know thus far?
Bakari, Phil, good evening. This happened at the Kennedy Margden Parkette around 2:45 this afternoon. I'll show you what it looks like right now, just to kind of set the scene for our viewers. We're looking at a library. This library is at Bloor, just west of Runnymede. The area taped off the parkette just north of the library. Then there's a children's playground directly next to this parkette as well. So here in the midst of this yellow police tape is where this stabbing seemingly happened. I spoke to a woman who lives in a home just directly across the street from the parquet. She said she didn't hear any kind of commotion. The first time she was alerted to the fact that something was going wrong was when essentially a flurry of police officers from 11 Division descended here on this area, and then an officer came and told her that someone had been seriously injured here in this parquet. So the victim, he's a man. All I have is that he's an adult, so above the age of 18, transported to hospital with serious but thankfully non-life-threatening injuries after being stabbed here. So thankfully it does sound like he's going to recover from this. Police say that the suspect initially fled from the scene, but was then arrested a short while later, now in custody. I'm told the suspect, who's again now in police custody, is a man in his 40s. Certainly if police feel as though they've got the right person, that's when charges will be laid accordingly. As for what happened in the minutes leading up to this, police assure me that there was no kind of dispute or anything like that happened in the library. The library is not related to it, but say that it is very likely that the suspect and the victim were known to one another and that this was, in all likelihood, according to investigators, a targeted event. I can tell you the K-9 unit was out here earlier this afternoon as well, putting a tracking down essentially to try to either follow the footsteps of where the suspect went or to try to find the weapon that was used in this stabbing. As far as whether it has been recovered, I haven't heard, but again, one person stabbed in hospital, serious non-life-threatening injuries. The suspect, a man in his 40s, now in police custody. Obviously, if you have information that you think would help police in their probe, you're encouraged to come forward and let them know. And I imagine the library as well, they generally do, have some pretty good surveillance cameras on the exterior that will help police out in their probe as well, guys. Back to you.
All right, Beatrice in Bloor West Village, thank you very much for the update. Also, 2 police officers taken to hospital after a fire in North York this afternoon.
Emergency crews that responded to a low-rise apartment building. This is on Swift Drive near Eglinton and Bermondsey. This was around 12:45. A large pile of debris can be seen outside of the unit. That's where the fire started. Police say the 2 officers required treatment for smoke inhalation. No other injuries are reported. The cause is being investigated. And a fire that gutted a historic church last year, that's now being investigated as suspected arson.
Yeah, Toronto police say that the fire marshal has now concluded its investigation into the fire and deemed the 4-alarm blaze that destroyed St. Anne's Anglican Church on Gladstone Avenue a suspected arson. The fire broke out the morning of June 9th, 2024. Thick black smoke could be seen coming from the building, which was fully engulfed when crews arrived. Flames shot through the building's iconic domed roof, you can see there, destroying unique Group of 7 murals inside. The building was unoccupied. No one was injured. It's 5:07 right now. Let's take a look at your traffic getting home or to work if you're working overnight. Adrian Siriabwa, how's it looking?
It's moving quite slowly, Phil. If you're making your way out, you're going to need a lot of extra time, especially if you're a commuter on the westbound 401. A little bit of a situation in the mix. So this is the 401 westbound in the transfer lanes, just past Keele Street. It is a collision. One point it was off to the side, but MTO arrived on scene. They're blocking the right lane. You can still access a single lane, but it's starting to create a bit of a delay, actually, both core and collectors now as you make your way from well before Bayview, but it is rush hour, so not surprising. Don Valley Parkway, southbound and northbound, pretty busy between Bayview, Bloor, and the 401. And if your travels take you towards the Gardner, still busy, but starting to thin out as you exit the downtown core via the westbound lanes from York Bay Yonge in sections out towards about rural York. Outside of camera view, we have Beverly closed in the downtown core between Dundas and Grange following a serious collision involving a pedestrian. I'll send it back to you.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
The Red Hot Raptors, they're looking to extend their winning streak to 8 games tonight. This as they welcome the Cavaliers to town.
Yeah, let's for more on how fans are feeling right now. CP24's Melissa Duggan at Scotiabank Arena. You know, we just got off the hangover of the Blue Jays. I know it's still the regular season for the Raptors, but the Leafs, we don't talk about them, but the Raptors at least giving Toronto sports fans something to talk about in a positive way.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is a good team to leap on board with at this moment right now, especially as they're looking for their 8th straight win tonight. Those 7 wins in a row. That's the longest winning streak this team has had since 2022. They've won 11 of their past 12 games. Yeah, the last couple of wins came off some not so hot teams. We're talking about the Nets, the Wizards tonight going up the Cavaliers, but they're behind the Raps in the standings right now. Raptors currently sitting 2nd in the Eastern Conference. Cleveland in 3rd spot there. And looking ahead to earlier in this season, the Raptors already beaten the Cavaliers twice on the road this season. So looking for their 3rd win against this team tonight. Unfortunately, the Raps going to be without R.J. Barrett. He was injured last night in the matchup against the Nets. He's having a very strong start to this season, so definitely going to be missing that 25-year-old out on the court tonight. But what are fans saying? They are enjoying this ride. Have a listen.
I feel like sometimes that can be the biggest trigger. I mean, like I've seen it with my football team, and sometimes when you're rebuilding and you're playing and you're having fun and you're learning together as a young core, I think it really makes a difference in any sport. But yeah, in basketball, I think that can sometimes just be the push you need to really get kick-started and get something going.
But this is not the year we were expecting, honestly. I didn't think this team was going to be even above 500, maybe.
No, none of us did, I think. Not the way it turned out, but they're on a roll, and it's excellent.
So call it a pleasant surprise, maybe?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so this is game 3 of a 4-game homestand for the Raptors tonight. A start time for this game, 7 p.m. Next up, the Raps going to be facing off against the Pacers here at home before they head out on the road. But again, Bakari and Phil will number 8 in that win streak arrive this evening. Back to you.
We'll have to see. Yeah, and then Pascal Siakam after that. That'll be great. All right, Melissa Duggan, thanks so much. Appreciate it. It's 5:10. Feels like 4. You're watching Live at 5.
Protesters in the legislature, the premier even telling one of them to get a job. The contentious passing of Bill 60. That's next. The Ford government has passed a contentious bill that critics say is going to make it easier for landlords to evict tenants from their homes.
Yeah, it's called Bill 60. It was fast-tracked through the legislature. The legislation shortens the waiting period to evict a tenant for not paying rent. It also bars tenants from raising new issues at the Landlord-tenant board hearings and scraps the need for a landlord to offer compensation if they would like to take their property back for their own use, as long as they give 120 days notice.
This legislation deals with people that are the bad actors, bad landlords, bad tenants. The vast majority of Ontario renters live by the rules. They pay their rent. They pay it on time. This is about creating balance at the Landlord-tenant board day in and day out so we can speed up adjudication. And look, we've doubled the adjudicators in this province, 40 to 80. We've added dollars for administrative process, and we've increased fines to bad actors, bad landlords. This is about balance and restoring balance of the landlord-tenant system.
Well, critics believe that Bill 60 will speed up eviction hearings and also make it harder for tenants to defend themselves against bad faith evictions while doing nothing to speed up tenant complaints against landlords.
I spent my weekend in Peterborough talking to folks who are tenants, yes, who are being really deeply impacted and are very afraid about losing their homes. I talked to folks in food banks who are out there across the province begging the government to backtrack off of this attack on tenants because they are seeing their lineups getting longer and longer, and people are choosing between food and housing every day. I've got workers out there who I'm standing with who don't have a jobs plan yet from this government. And all Doug Ford seems to be obsessed with is how we can attack more tenants, how we can make CEOs richer.
Kayla Andrade, founder of Ontario Landlords Watch, says the legislation was long overdue.
Bill 60 means our government is starting to listen to the small landlords of Ontario. That's what it means to me. We have a situation where we have landlords upon landlords who have been dealing with a broken landlord-tenant board system for quite some time. And now we have a situation where our government is now introducing new rules to stop professional tenants from taking advantage of these loopholes in the system.
Or Premier Doug Ford could be heard telling a protester in the gallery to go find a job as they were being escorted out of the legislature. A large group had gathered to voice their opposition to Bill 60. The speaker ordered the gallery to be cleared after the bill was passed.
He has no clue the difficulties that people are facing. And if I had had his family's connections, I probably wouldn't have had to look for one either. But when he turned and looked at me personally, I looked him in the eyes and I said, you are putting people on the streets, because that will be the effect of this legislation.
Toronto Regional Real Estate Board is welcoming the new legislation. A statement from Treb Regent Park, quote, Bill 60 will speed up hearings, improve procedures for rent arrears, streamline adjudication processes, and place greater emphasis on reducing systemic delays at the Landlord and Tenant Board. Together, these changes will strengthen the rental housing system for both tenants and rental property owners.
So also included in Bill 60 is the streamlining of approvals for municipalities and calling for a section-by-section review of the Ontario Building Code. This is designed to reduce regulations and speed up building.
All right, well, the Ford government also plans to introduce legislation that would require people who are granted bail to pay a security deposit up front.
Okay, for more on the changes being proposed, let's go live to CP24's Andrew Brennan. Andrew.
Good afternoon, the both of you. And for people at home to sort of break down the differences here, very similar to other proposals that have come from either the Premier's mouth or from his ministers. This is more of an Americanization, potentially, of our justice system here, which is built off of, common law. The Westminster rule system is sort of how we have our laws decided. This would change things, essentially making it more like in America. Do you remember the Dog the Bounty Hunter shows and shows like that? You would have people that would pay up front for someone to be released from custody. That's not what happens in Canada. Here, there is a surety system where someone says that they will assure, hence being the surety, the court that if the person were being released into either their own custody or to the sureties, usually with a parent, in a case like that, they ultimately would have to pay if someone contravenes the release orders for them to be allowed out. That is potentially what could change here. The Attorney General saying ultimately that this is about keeping people safe and ensuring that those that are abusing, as he puts it, the system that they describe as being a revolving door when it comes to bail in Ontario particularly, but Canada at large, that this will help change that. Here's more from the Attorney General.
The issue is that it takes a lot of resources to follow up on a surety, and that's not necessary. We want to create capacity in the system by not taking administrative steps to have to chase people.
To that end, will these measures actually work?
I believe they will work, or I wouldn't have brought them forward.
How much money is the province owed right now from these types of bail non-compliance?
I don't have a number on that because there are a lot of sureties out there who have posted nothing. And we want to make sure that it's real.
Is this for all crimes? Is this for all crimes?
This is for everything that comes in front of the JPs or the judges in a criminal sense.
Now, we've been hearing some reaction from opposition parties saying that this would create a two-tier justice system. A similar statement coming from the CCLA, the Civil Liberties Association for Canada. Here is their statement in part. The Ontario government's proposal, according to one member, the director of criminal justice programs at the CCLA, this proposal to require cash bail creates, he says, two tiers of justice, one for the rich and the other for the rest of us. Innocent but can't afford to pay to be released, you are stuck in jail for years until you can clear your name in court, even if you would have complied with all of your bail conditions. This proposal appears to apply to everyone, including first offenders with no criminal record. They go on to say that this is there is also serious doubts as to whether this proposal by the province would even fly under our current legal system. It would have to be reviewed by a higher court, potentially. We'll send it back to you, but obviously this debate not over for now.
Absolutely not. All right, Andrew Brennan, thanks so much. We'll chat soon. It is 5:19, feels like 4. You're watching Live at 5.
One of the fathers of reggae has passed away. We're going to have a look back at the life and music of Jimmy Cliff. That's next on Live at 5.
Welcome back. European officials are welcoming progress in talks about a U.S. proposal to end Russia's war in Ukraine. But after another Russian drone attack over the weekend, some Ukrainians, there's some doubt that this will actually succeed.
So 4 people were killed in the attack on Kharkiv. This was on Sunday. The city's about 30 kilometers from the Russian border. It came as talks in the American proposal that heavily favors Moscow's demands began. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky told a summit in Sweden today that the U.S. and Ukraine will continue to work to modify the controversial proposal.
We've managed to keep extremely sensitive points on the table, including the full release of all Ukrainian prisoners of war under the all for all formula, and civilians, and the complete return of Ukrainian children abducted by Russia. These are important steps, but to achieve real peace, more More is needed.
Russian officials still haven't seen the revised peace plan, according to a Kremlin spokesperson.
Well, iconic Bollywood star Dharmendra has died.
Yeah, dubbed the original He-Man of Bollywood, the actor was one of Indian cinema's most popular stars, whose versatile performances helped him rise to fame in the 1970s and 80s. The actor had been in and out of hospital in recent weeks. Prime Minister Narendra Modi offered his condolences, saying the actor's death marks the end of an era in Indian cinema. Dharmendra was just 89. And reggae pioneer Jimmy Cliff has died.
You can get it if you really want. You can get it if you really want, but you must try.
Well, Cliff may be best known for his role in the 1972 film The Harder They Come. Its soundtrack, which included several songs by Cliff, helped introduce reggae to a global audience. Cliff's family says that he died following a bout of pneumonia after suffering a seizure. He was 81. Right now it's 5:23, 6 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Well, Canada has a new top dog. We'll tell you about the winner of the Canadian Kennel Club's National Championship Dog Show next.
More Canadians are holiday shopping with the assistance of AI this year.
Oh, it's taking over. It's happening. A survey from Shopify found 64% of those polled say they will use AI as Santa's little helper for at least one shopping task this holiday season. For Gen Z demographics, that spans from 18 to 24, that number was a whopping 84%. They can't think on their own. Experts say the tool helps users find savings and make decisions. Okay, maybe I should get involved.
But if you're feeling anxious about the upcoming holiday gatherings and potential conflicts at the dinner table over politics, relationships, or social issues, you're not alone. A new Leger poll of 1,500 Canadians found 70% they think that it is important to spend time with loved ones over the holidays, but over half are more careful about what they talk about these days. So respondents say that the topics most likely to spark an argument are politics, followed by money and immigration.
I mean, I think after 8 o'clock, probably shouldn't talk to anybody about anything on Christmas night.
Time to go home.
Time to go home. See you guys. All right. Okay, no debate here. Canada has a new top dog.
A Pekingese named Prince came in first at the Canadian Kennel Club's National Championship Dog Show in Mississauga. That was this weekend. Prince and his owner collected the Best in Show honor, and it's $5,000 prize. So Prince also took top honors in the toy division. The event brought together 814 dogs representing 135 breeds from all across Canada. The runner-up was awarded to Rambo, a miniature American Shepherd owned from Thamesford.
Nice. I dig it. Nice fur. It's 5:28. Feels like 4. You're watching Live at 5.
And forget about the Leafs. The Raptors, they are going for 8 straight tonight. What's behind their winning ways? We're going to check in with TSN's Josh Lewinberg next.
A toddler and a baby among those who were killed in last week's Brampton house fire. We have live coverage from the scene.
Developing news from the Bloor and Runnymede area. This is where a man has been stabbed near a playground. CP24's Beatrice Vaisman is going to have a live update from the scene.
Renters versus landlords. The province passing Bill 60 with protesters yelling from the gallery at Queen's Park and Premier Doug Ford sharing some choice words with one of them.
And can they make it 8 in a row? The Raptors, they host the Cavaliers tonight at Scotiabank Arena. We have a preview.
This is Live at 5. Good evening, I'm Phil Perkins.
I'm Bakari Savage. Welcome to Live at 5. Well, the Raptors, they've won 7 in a row, their longest winning streak since 2022. They're going to try to make it 8 in a row tonight when they host the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Now we're pleased to join TSN's Raptors reporter Josh Lewinberg, courtside at Scotiabank Arena. Josh, are they picking out from the Toronto Blue Jays and working with the power of friendship here? Because they seem to be having a lot of fun on the bench leading up to this win streak.
Yeah, Phil, I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you, but it's been loud in this arena over the last few weeks, that's for sure. This is a team that is playing their best basketball, and I can't even remember that far back. But this is a team that kind of piggybacking on some of the vibes that we saw from the Blue Jays over the summer leading up to the World Series. They genuinely enjoy playing with each other. We're seeing it off the floor, I think, in the locker room, some of the clips that we've seen, and certainly I've witnessed it in the way that they embrace each other before and after games. But even on the court and the way that they're sharing the ball, it's a beautiful style of basketball. And I think Raptors fans have maybe forgotten over the last few years how beautiful basketball can be when it's played the right way. And this is a credit, I think, to Darko Rajakovic and the coaching staff that have really been emphasizing sharing the ball, moving the ball, playing hard defensively, forcing turnovers, a style of play that they didn't have the personnel to pull off over the last couple of years. Well, they have that talent and that depth now, and we're seeing it all come together.
And Josh, speaking of seeing it all come together, let's talk about the excitement of this momentum. Hey, Josh, can you hear me?
It's cutting in and out. I've lost you here.
Okay, so that was TSN's Raptors reporter, Josh Lewenberg, live from Scotiabank Arena ahead of tonight's game.
All right, for more on the Raptors, how the fans are feeling, they're making their way to Scotiabank Arena. Let's go to CP24's Melissa Duggan. It's a battle of some of the best teams in the Eastern Conference between the Raptors and the Cavaliers.
That's right. The Raptors currently in second spot in the Eastern Conference right now. And the Cavs, they're in third spot, so the Raps still want to stay ahead. They want to make that 8 wins in a row. As you guys were just talking about, this team, it is fun to watch, just like those Jays were fun to watch. You see the team just getting along together, having fun on the sidelines, and that is what really has got fans fired up. Of course, the wins also help along the way. The Raps winning 11 of the last 12 games. Love to see it. Are they going to add another win here tonight? Well, the last couple of games that the Raps had, they were against some teams that aren't doing so hot this season. Think the Nets, think the Wizards. Tonight, sure, the Cavs going to be putting up some more competition. But looking back on this, short season already, we're only in November at this point. But the Raps have already played the Cavaliers a couple of times on the road, and the Raptors won both of those games. They want to add a third one against that team again here tonight. But I want to share more of what fans are saying because they are having fun along this ride. Have a listen.
It's pretty incredible. I don't think anyone expected this at the beginning of the year, and to just sort of see the freedom and the fun that they're playing with is something pretty special. So yeah, it's pretty exciting times. I think I don't want to say it's 2019 vibes, but it's feeling pretty good.
We didn't know the team was going to gel so quickly together. With BI3 there and then Scotty Barnes playing well, it's crazy. It's very unexpected.
I like the way that this team is going, especially with all the off-season changes. And the future's looking bright. We have Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram, Quickly, RJ Barrett. All those guys look like they could be all-stars.
We heard a mention of RJ Barrett there. He, unfortunately, not going to be playing in tonight's game. He is out with a knee strain. He was pulled from the game last night against the Nets after getting 16 points. Halfway through the third, we saw him land kind of awkwardly, and he was out for the rest of the game. Won't be making a return this evening. Tonight's start time, it is 7 p.m. This is game 3 of a 4-game homestand, by the way. Raps got another one here at home coming up on Wednesday. Back to you guys.
All right, make it 8. CP24's Melissa Duggan reporting live. Thanks a lot. Okay, it's 5:35. Let's get a check on the evening commute with CP24 traffic specialist Adjo and Tiaya Bloor.
Yeah, but I've been watching problems in Devon. It's a pretty serious collision happening on the northbound lanes of the 400 in the collector lanes just through Langstaff. It's still those 2 right lanes that are blocked. What cars are doing, because the lanes aren't available, is they're weaving around using the bullnose to get by. But again, because of this problem, it is pretty slow from well before Shepherd. Southbound 400, no issues. It's typical for this time of day as you make your way from Shepherd down to the 401 ramps. 401 itself, all earlier issues have cleared, but it's still busy as you navigate across the top of the city. And checking out the drive on the Donna Valley Parkway, northbound remains pretty slow north of Bayview Bloor and continues heavy as you make your way up to the 401. On city streets, a collision on Kingston Road and Morningside. Also in the downtown core, still have Beverly closed both ways between Dundas and Grange for a collision involving a pedestrian. I'll send it back to you both.
That's tough stuff. Okay, thank you very much, Adjo. Well, developing news out of Bloor West Village. A man has been injured in a stabbing at a park that's near a playground and a library.
Let's go live to CP24's Beatrice Vaisman, who is at the scene. This is near Bloor and Runnymede. Beatrice.
Bakari, Phil, good evening. This happened just after 2:45 this afternoon when there was seemingly some kind of altercation between two men that resulted in a stabbing. You might notice the police tape behind me. We're just north of a library that's just on Bloor, east of Runnymede, pardon me. It's in the grassy area just north of the library where you can see all of this police tape and really where the focus of this investigation is going to be. I just watched as forensic investigators had their vehicle just pulling up a few minutes ago. The canine unit was also here laying down a track just to get as much evidence as possible. It seems as though it happened right here and just next to the parkette, also a children's playground. So some kind of altercation that happened. Police have suggested it is very likely a targeted scenario with the victim and the suspect being known to one another. They do not have an age on the victim. I know he was rushed to hospital. A man was rushed to hospital with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. The suspect, who initially fled from the scene, has since been arrested by police. And the man that's in custody is a man in his 40s. I've been talking to some of the neighbors here, certainly seeing police tape in a parkette behind a library. Pretty unnerving to most. Here's what one of these neighbors named Chuck told me just a few minutes ago.
I walked by the area and there was a ruckus, and that's all I know. I heard later that somebody got stabbed.
Police presence-wise, what did you see?
12 cruisers, I think 2 fire trucks, 1 or 2 ambulances.
What do you make of this happening here in your neighborhood?
What's happening all over Toronto? Sign of the times.
Certainly, I've been watching kids walk by after school to take a look at the scene as well, try to figure out what happened here. And like I said, pretty unnerving to people who live in the neighborhood. I spoke to one woman who lives directly across the street from the parkette. She told me she didn't hear any kind of commotion, didn't hear any kind of yelling. Just was alerted to the fact that something had happened here because all of a sudden she heard the sirens from police vehicles, and an officer came to knock on her door to tell her that someone had been stabbed here. So certainly if you have any information that could give police an indication as to what happened, even in the minutes before the stabbing happened, that would be helpful. But again, the investigation here at the scene really just starting. Forensic investigators arriving a few minutes ago. They'll be here to take photographs, to catalog the scene, and from there police will determine if charges should be laid against the man in his 40s who's in police custody. Back to you guys.
All right, Beatrice, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Let's go to Brampton now, where 4 people, including a toddler, are now confirmed dead in a house fire there.
Okay, let's go live to CP24. Steve Ron, he's at the scene. Steve, you've been providing continual live coverage of this for us.
Yeah, Bakari and Phil, and now we're at the point where the investigators now will be able to determine or try to determine the cause, origin, and circumstances of this fatal fire. So last Thursday, 2:30 in the morning is when this fire happened. At the time, shortly thereafter, we learned that 2 people escaped from the fire. We learned that 4 people were taken to hospital in very serious condition, and we learned that 2 people had died as a result of the fire. We were told that 3 people remained unaccounted for. On Friday afternoon, we had an update from Peel Police saying that during the search, while this house was being taken down, being demolished in a controlled setting for 2 reasons. Number 1, to make it safe for the investigators to continue with their investigation. And number 2, to see if there were, in fact, other remains inside of this location. And sadly, Peel Police told us on Friday afternoon, at 2:30 p.m., that a 3rd adult was located deceased in the home. That left 2 people unaccounted for. Well, we heard today from the Ontario Fire Marshal's office and from Peel Police that another body was recovered, and that was that of a 2-year-old toddler. So that left 4 people dead in this home as a result of the fire, 4 people in the hospital. The other 3 have been accounted for. One of those 4 people that was transported to hospital shortly after the fire began on Thursday was a pregnant woman. She was 8 months pregnant, and sadly, as a result of complications from the fire, despite the best efforts by medical staff during emergency surgery, her child died as well. So that is now 5 deaths as a result of the fire, 4 people in hospital, and the others are accounted for. Investigation now being conducted by the Ontario Fire Marshal's office because, of course, it is their mandate anytime there's a death involved in a fire. So at an update today, we heard from Peel Police and we heard from the OFM as well. And here's more from both of them. Let's listen.
We remain on scene and stand ready to support the Ontario Fire Marshal in whatever their investigation locates over the course of what will be several months of analysis with the debris here. At this point, I can confirm that there has been nothing overtly to indicate any type of criminality here.
I can confirm that smoke alarms were located in this home, but as part of our investigation, we will work to determine whether those alarms were in fact functioning at the time of the fire. As you can appreciate, following the on-site investigation, our focus shifts to testing samples and ensuring that we leave no stone unturned. As such, a timeline for the completion of this investigation cannot be provided.
This is all that's left of this house, and this is what now the OFM investigators will be going through to do their analysis and, again, determine the cause, origin, and circumstances surrounding this fatal fire. So back to you guys.
Okay, live in Brampton, CP24, Steve Ryan. It's 5:42, 6 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Well, posting bail going to get a lot costlier. The Ford government has its way. Up next, we talk about the potential changes for those caught on the wrong side of the law.
The Ford government plans to introduce legislation which will require people who are granted bail to pay a security deposit up front.
Yeah, for more of the changes being proposed, let's go to the newsroom. CP24's Andrew Brennan. Andrew, can you try to break this down?
Yeah, I'll try the best I can. It is our job, right? So the way I want people to think about this a little bit is we've heard from the Premier before about wanting things like having judges be voted in, an American concept for how they deal with their legal system. They're also looking at having bail reforms and also potential changes to the criminal code. The Premier's talked about having the stand your ground law be applicable or used in Canada. This is another American style of judicial proceedings potentially coming to Ontario. Right now, the Solicitor General is expected to table tomorrow legislation that, in part, as part of this, would have something similar to what you would see even on a TV show back like Dog the Bounty Hunter. Having a bond essentially be posted in the United States immediately, meaning if someone is having to be on bail for $1 million, they pay $1 million to be let out. In Canada, we have a surety system. Someone promises, essentially assures the court that they will pay if someone contravenes the conditions of their release, and then they would essentially be on the hook for that money. And predominantly, according to stats that I've looked at, there are predominantly people do pay when they are when they have to. But the change here would be ultimately having someone have to post to be granted bail. They would have to post bond like in the United States, essentially giving that money up front. This is how it's being classified by members of the Ford government as they announce this change today.
We're coming forward again with bold, innovative, and practical solutions to enhance our public safety. And the reason is obvious. Our government has never stopped in believing that our inherent right to live safely in our own homes and communities is the guiding principle that drives our actions every day to protect Ontario. We believe in the singular concept that the rule of law must matter, because a safe Ontario is a strong Ontario.
When we hear from the Canadian Civil Liberties Association, though, they say that there's not a singular problem here. It's a plurality of issues, and also would create a plurality of people before the courts. This is how they describe it. The Ontario government's proposal to require cash bail would create two tiers of justice, one for the rich and the other for the rest of us. This statement going on to say that if imagine you're innocent but can't afford to pay to be released, well, you're stuck in jail, the CCLA says, until you for years, until you can clear your name in court, even if you would have complied with the conditions that would have been part of your bail. Ultimately, this proposal, they say, appears to apply to everyone, including first-time offenders with no criminal record. Now, the question is, will this ultimately pass, though? Well, the Ford government does have a supermajority at the legislature, Phil Bakari. Essentially, that means that even if there's a bill that is coming from the opposition that would require even 60% of the vote, they ultimately have those votes to do what they will. At this time, it appears it will pass tomorrow. I'll send it back to you.
All right. I mean, that's a pretty good job breaking it down. Andrew Brennan, thanks so much. Appreciate it. It is 5:48. Feels like 4. You're watching Live at 5.
Bill 60 has passed at Queen's Park, but not without an uproar. We're going to tell you the changes that people who rent need to know about. That's coming up next. And the Ford government has passed a contentious bill that critics say is going to make it easier for landlords to evict tenants from their homes.
Yeah, it's called Bill 60. It was fast-tracked through Queen's Park. The legislation shortens the waiting period to evict a tenant for not paying rent. It also bars tenants from raising new issues at the Landlord-tenant board hearings and scraps the need for a landlord to offer compensation if they would like to take their property back for their own use, as long as they give 120 days notice.
I've spent the summer talking to landlords, to landlords, to home builders, to the entire housing community.
Not to tenants, though?
I've talked to lots of tenants every day. I talk to tenants.
Tenants just now.
Well, I'm mentioning them now. Okay, so what we are doing is creating an environment for more success. We have created more housing starts in the last number of years, or rental starts in the last number of years, 51,000. It's working. And with supply comes competition. With competition comes lower rents. With lower rents comes affordability. That's what this is about, and it's working.
And critics believe that Bill 60 is going to speed up eviction hearings and also make it harder for tenants to defend themselves against bad faith evictions while doing nothing to speed up tenant complaints against landlords.
We're asking to fix the major issues that are happening in the landlord and tenant board, and to address the rules so that there is balance and fairness for both sides. Bill 60 does none of those things. All it does is it points the finger at every single renter and tenant, of whom the vast majority are acting in good faith, who are struggling to make ends meet, who are struggling in an affordability crisis. It points the finger at every single renter and tenant in the province and says, you're at fault. Every single one of you is going to pay.
Kayla Andrade, founder of Ontario Landlords Watch, says there were numerous issues with the old system.
Knowing that there's tenants out there that go to the landlord and tenant board not paying rent for 8 months, and then they get an order because the adjudicator deemed that the tenant didn't pay their rent, they refuse to pay. It's not that they can't, it's that they won't pay their rent. Then they apply for a stay, not providing any evidence, and then they apply for a review. Then there's a wait time for the sheriff to come to evict, in which that has been obviously backlogged as well.
Well, Premier Doug Ford could be heard telling a protester in the gallery to, quote, go find a job as they were being escorted out of the legislature. A large group had gathered to voice their opposition to Bill 60. The speaker ordered the gallery to be cleared after the bill was passed.
If a landlord is having a serious and severe problem with a tenant, there are already remedies for that on the books. But these changes to the LTB speed up all evictions. They speed up, they ease the hurdles to putting people on the streets, regardless of whether or not their tenancy could be remedied or not.
The Toronto Regional Real Estate Board is saying, first of all, they welcome the legislation. It reads, quote, Bill 60 will speed up hearings, improve procedures for rent arrears, streamline adjudication processes, and place greater emphasis on reducing systemic delays at the Landlord and Tenant Board. Together, these changes will strengthen the rental housing system for both tenants and rental property owners.
Also included in Bill 60 is the streamlining of approvals for municipalities and calling for a section-by-section review of the Ontario Building Code, which is designed to reduce regulations and speed up building.
It's 5:54, 6 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
Well, coming up, the Raptors, they're red hot with 7 wins in a row, but the Leafs,
yikes.
And the Leafs fans, they're a little blue these days with the team losing 7 of their last 8 games. Well, the struggling Leafs are going to try and turn things around as they get set for 3 more games on the road this week.
It's been tough. The Leafs, well, they've lost 7 of their last 8 games and sit in last place in the division. Toronto has just one away game. That's tough. And it plays its next 5 games on the road. The team continues to be without a number of key players, including captain Austin Matthews, Matthew Nyes, Anthony Stolars, and Chris Tanev. Steve Cooley, as host of the Power Play on SiriusXM, says that there are numerous issues with this team.
The goaltending is .885. That's way below the league average. This team can be at .910, and they were better last year. The goalies played great, and the team defense was good. This is team defense. This is us. Remember some of the moments in this season? Pasternak gets behind Morgan Riley. Morgan Riley should know who David Pasternak is by now. They set him up on that tip play in Boston. What about Philip Myers and Dakota Joshua? They basically scored in their own net. Jake McCabe coughing up pucks. Simone Benoit. They can be better than that.
We're third in the league in scoring goals. I mean, and we got a lot of injured guys out. I get that. And guys that put the puck in the net, right? But at the same time, we prided ourselves on defense last year, checking, and we got to get back to that. And so that's what we're focused on.
And the Leafs are back in action Wednesday in Columbus before taking on Washington Friday and then Pittsburgh on Saturday.
I'll see where the dub comes from. It is 5:59, feels like 4. You're watching Toronto's Breaking News, CP24.
And thank you for watching. CTV News at 6 is next.